AI is getting crazy and it's messing up a lot of lives and a lot of stuff in general. But what's going to happen soon is the AI bubble is about to pop for two main reasons. Reason one, a lot of companies have put a ton of money into AI investment and developing AI, and they're not getting the return they want. So it's not really benefiting them. They're putting more money in than they're getting out. Two, even bigger is even more companies have put investments into AI hardware, and even hardware companies have pushed away from making hardware for people like gaming RAM and RAM in general to making hardware for AI data centers and focus more on AI stuff than actual consumer stuff, which is going to be a problem when AI doesn't need that stuff anymore and you've pushed away your regular user base away from your companies. Then your company is going to crash when AI is no longer needed. Well, AI no longer needs your stuff, and that crash is coming really fast. And I say that because DeepSeek announced their new model like 2 weeks ago, and their new model is 3.2, and their new model uses less resources than all other major AI models, including their last model that they released. So that means that a DeepSeek 3.2 uses, I saw the number, 20 to 40% less. Well, the cost, it says 20% to 40% less in cost to run their model, which means they're using 20 to 40% less resources, basically. So basically, if you have 10 data centers based running their models and you upgraded all of them to the new model, you would only need at maximum 8 of those data centers now. And that is what's going to cause the crash. Imagine what happens when DeepSeek hits DeepSeek 5 from 3 and they're using 60% less resources than our current models. That means they can use a lot more stuff without using up as many resources. But the more ironic part about this is the reason for this is because a lot of AI chips, such as NVIDIA chips and AMD chips and Intel chips, have been sanctioned so that they can't be sold to places like China, especially. And in response, instead of not only did they develop their own chips, they also started developing AI that uses less resources. In particular, DeepSeek. So now DeepSeek uses less resources because they have access to older chips. So it runs on older hardware, uses less resources so it can run the same thing on older hardware, outdated hardware, and not as many resources being used. But they also created their own chips that are just as powerful as the newer NVIDIA chips that are out there right now. So now they're having chips that use just as much power as the ones that we have here that were sanctioned, but they also have AI that requires less power than ours do, which means they already have a boost above us. But this doesn't mean China wins the AI war. This actually just means that now the AI battle is not for bigger data centers. The AI battle is about to shift from large data centers to smaller data centers, and AI that's just as powerful but uses a lot less resources, which also means a lot of investment is about to go downhill. A lot of these companies that pushed all this money into more hardware is about to start losing out some money, because now the whole game is not to get more hardware to get AI faster. Now the game is going to be, oh, we need less hardware but we need faster AI, so we need to focus more on the code now instead of the hardware. And that's how the bubble is going to pop. Soon as the shift goes from hardware to code, the entire AI bubble pops, because right now the entire AI bubble relies heavily on hardware and the price of hardware going up, hardware being spread from place to place, and the money flowing from hardware. As soon as that money stops flowing as fast, the entire AI bubble is going to pop. Just like Microsoft right now is having a little bit of trouble because they keep on increasing their hardware requirements just to run Windows, and people are starting to leave Windows to move to Linux. I'm leaving Windows to move to Linux. A lot of people are, just because it doesn't make sense for the same thing to require more and more resources when you're getting the same thing as you were before. It makes more sense to focus on something else that uses less resources, that will cost less to run, versus using something that costs more just to run. Because like I said in one of my previous videos, I have a laptop that uses 15% of its RAM just to run Windows. I have 64 gigs of RAM. Why is Windows using 15% of 64 gigs? Over 10 gigabytes of RAM just to run Windows, when Windows used to run on less than 400 megabytes of RAM. That's 1000x increase for what? Nothing. For fancy glass UI? No, it's not worth it. A lot of people are switching to Linux for that, and just like people are switching to Linux because it costs less to run, people are going to start switching to AI models that require less data centers to run because it's going to be cheaper to run. So that's going to cause the AI bubble to crash, because the AI bubble relies too heavily on the data centers that we're building right now, which actually are even more thing that people are going against those data centers already, because they're causing people too much money in their electricity bill, and it's raising their water prices also. And there are lots of open source models that are heavily prioritizing resource usage and getting their AI to use as less resources as possible to run properly and do the same thing. Right now, that is a big thing in the open source world. And once a lot of these models start getting mainstream uses, not even mainstream uses, but once some of these models get picked up by a couple companies, and these companies actually decide to, I'll use these models instead of paying for a data center or renting out a data center so I can have more privacy and I can have my models running, AI is going to completely change. The infrastructure of AI is going to change. Just like the dot-com bubble, it's going to pop, and it's going to pop hard. Yes, we'll still have a couple big companies left, but like the dot-com era and the pop, it's going to move from everything being just focused on big companies only to big companies being there still, to also having a lot of smaller companies that do individual things. And especially now with what's going on in the world where privacy is becoming more and more important, it's going to be a bigger deal for companies to switch away from large data centers and do something on their own, especially after Amazon AWS went down and Cloudflare, basically the police of the internet, went down all within 1 month of each other. Once those companies went down and they had security issues and breaches and all this stuff, it's now no longer, oh, I'm going to rely on these big centers. No, if you're a multi-billion-dollar company, you're going to think twice and go, maybe I should grab one of these open source models and grab the creators and say, hey, work on this for me, get it running, keep it closed source, and keep everything private, nothing online for anyone else to hack into, and we'll run your system. We won't even tell anybody what your system is, so no one can hack into it. If they hack into Amazon, they hack into Cloudflare, they hack into all these other databases, we're completely separate and we're still safe. And once this starts happening, the AI bubble is going to start crashing. And probably the first people that's going to lead this is the banking industry, because with all these stuff constantly going out, banks such as like Bank of America, Chase, TD Bank, all these banks, they're going to start thinking maybe we should move away from connecting our systems to a cloud and keep it the way it is, secure to our own intranet, and have our own AI run on our intranet only. Not connected to anybody else, locked in to what we want and nothing else. But yeah, that's my thoughts. I think the AI bubble is going to pop, and I think it's going to happen in the next maybe year. It's going to pop, and it's going to pop hard. And hopefully, we're not completely screwed when the AI bubble pops, because so much has depended on these AI giants right now. But yeah, that's it for now. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.